talk pretty quickly here.
Hi,
Hey, Lenora.
how are you guys?
Good, how are you?
Good, thanks. You're going dark?
Oh, this camera doesn't do a very good job of different lighting, and so the sun sets, and so then all of a sudden I turn into a ghost.
Oh.
There's ways I can set it up that it doesn't do that, but I forgot to set it up, and the only way to reset it up is to restart my computer.
Oh, that'd be sad. Don't go dark. How are you guys?
Well, we're doing good. We got the recording started, which means we are officially into Triple T number 26. Holy cow, we've made it this far. And June 28, 2022. If this is your first time joining on and watching, welcome. Appreciate you showing up. If you don't mind, make sure that you, I guess the phrase now is smash the subscribe button and bang the bell or whatever. And I just want people around so I can help as many people as possible. Share this with all your friends. Please leave comments both on Facebook and on here, and because it helps my ego, just being honest. Glad you guys keep showing up. I will keep showing up as long as I can pull this off. Made it 26 so far. Let's see if we can do another 26. Any news from the week that passed with you guys, or anything you want to share before we dig into crazy things called TJ? Yes, no, crickets, Bueller? Well, I guess we'll dive right into it. If you saw my Facebook post, we got a couple of things that I picked out. One is the stuff coming up in Hypno Thoughts Live, number 10, happening in Las Vegas in about a month. I'll be presenting on a panel there and teaching a class. They give me a whole lot. Well, it says it's an hour, which means I actually get to teach for about 45 minutes. And if you've seen enough of these Triple Ts, you know that 45 minutes for me is like an introduction, a couple of laughs, and one topic. And the topic they picked for me is dating in the new decade. And so I'll be sharing a lot of the protocols that I came up with for dating, removing blocks to dating, and to stop people from dating the same non-qualified applicants in a different meat suit, we're going to call it, to keep it clean. But if you've been in the dating realm more than 6 months, you understand that, it's not so easy. Especially now with all the stuff that we've dealt with since 2020 hit. I am so glad that I got this stuff figured out before I had to deal with that. But nevertheless, I made it up until 21 before I got married. So I had plenty of chances to figure out what doesn't work in dating. Yes, I tried most of them and boiled it down to the common denominator. That would be me. That's when I realized about 4 years ago, that, I had to work on me. I had to clean up some stuff, found out that I had some major things holding me back, and in figuring that out, came up with a number of protocols that I've been blessed to share with a number of clients with really good success. So that's what I'll be teaching in Vegas for Hypno Thoughts. One of the biggest breakthroughs that I came up with, it's also one of the more controversial ones with my clients when I first bring it to them, is I put them on a 1-year moratorium from being in an exclusive relationship. And I usually get that amazing face when I say that. They're like, I'm coming to you to find somebody, and you're telling me now that I can't date for a whole year? What the what? I'm like, here's the philosophy behind it. And I know that we covered this in another Triple T, so for those of you that were present at that one, I apologize. But for those of you that this is the first time hearing this, the really quick breakdown of it is, one, it changes your energy. It changes your outlook on being out with people that you're looking for. It keeps you from being the, hi, you're good looking and you have a heartbeat and you appear to be breathing. Are you the one? Hi, are you the one? Hi, I find you mildly attractive. Could you be the one? Hi, I've known you for a while, and yeah, you're kind of a hot mess, but I'm kind of alone. So could I fix you up, and could you be the one? And it allows you instead to go, I'm taking 1 year to work on me and work on as many different versions of me as I can come up with. And I will be any one of them at any time, unapologetically, until I figure out which one I really want to be. And by then, I will not have hidden anything from you. So at the end of the year, if you're still around and you still meet all my criteria, I won't have any surprises hidden. Because for those of you that have been off the dating scene for quite a while, you probably can easily remember back in the day when the first date you put on your best mask. Hi, here's my potentially flawless mask. Here's who I am. I don't do anything wrong. I don't burp. I don't fart. I don't swear. And then after a while, some of those cracks in the mask start showing up, and the other person is like, you what? Did you just what? And of course, you start seeing through their mask. But by then, you're so invested into what you think is the relationship that you feel bad about, I don't want to break their heart. I don't want to get back in the dating scene. I can probably change them. No. And so that's part of the protocol that I bring forth. I also, another controversial one is I will have my clients put together a journal that describes their perfect partner in the smallest detail. How tall are they? And of course, they're like, I don't know, 5'10" to like 6'1". I'm like, pick one. How tall are they? 5'11"? There, 5'11". What color hair? What color eyes? What shade of skin? How long is their hair? What's their body build? Are they Adonis, or are they, the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man? If you're into that, there's nothing wrong with that, but you got to know what you're looking for. The emotional refractory period has so many people saying, well, I'll know when I see it. No, you won't, because you would already had them. Chances are your perfect person has bumped into you at the grocery store, been jogging down your street, been at the dance club that you like to go to, all the above for years. But because you were waiting for that big where the angels shined the light on them and the doves flew over her head, and there's a big banner that says, "This is the one." You're like, well, I don't know. I never talked to him. And so that's where a lot of that protocol came down, and I've even had a chance to refine it even more after working with enough clients and things of that nature. So, you guys have any? I know a couple of you have heard some of this stuff before, but any input or questions on that stuff, or things that you'd like to share, please?
I got a question. Shocking. When you tell somebody for 1 year, you're going to work on yourself, or 1 year, you're going to try on as many different masks, what does that, especially for people who might not grasp onto that idea, and they're like, what do you mean? I don't need to work on myself at all. Or, like, how else do you go into detail about that? How else do you explain it to them?
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. That's why I asked for input. Understand, when you understand that the common denominator is you, and you take the time to write down the in detail description of your person, now you can reflect on, well, that's my perfect person. Who would that person be attracted to? What can I work on? What should I improve upon? What, all of the above. And when you understand how easy it is to change your identity, you get the chance to become the person that your person will be attracted to. One of the people that I heard this concept from was Darren Hardy, who was the person behind Success Magazine. And he didn't get married till a little later on in life, and went through and wrote down an entire list of everything. And then he looked at that list and went, what am I lacking that's in the person that she would be attracted to? And so he worked on those portions of his life. And just like so many of my clients, and including myself, all of a sudden, his person showed up. Oh, just like that. And he was everything she was looking for. And when he said when he looked at his list, she checked off over 90% of everything that was in the description. You can call it manifesting, you can call it emotional refractory period. But when you get that list clarified, amazing how it shows up, because you know what you're looking for. Yes, please.
Why would you call it the emotional refractory period? Because sorry, I thought it was totally.
Yeah, the emotional refractory period, as Dr. David Snyder has described it a number of times, is because of the fact that we have so much sensory input around us happening every single second of every hour. our brains will only consume a small fraction to keep us from overload. Well, you can walk through a busy shopping mall. How many people do you actually remember seeing? But somebody can say your name in all of that confusion, and you're looking around because of the emotional refractory period having certain things that it is A, used to, and B, or in all of that, somebody could walk by that you knew from high school. And you'll see them out of the corner of your eye, and you're like, oh, was that John? John, holy you know. You walk by 700 people, but that one face that your mind knows registers like, hey, we know that person. The way that David described it was buying a car. You decide that you want to buy a car and you want it to be unique and you want it to be yours and you know exactly what you want and you shop around for 6 months and finally you find it, the most unique, the most the most awesome car, and you're driving it home. And as you're driving it home, you look in the rearview mirror, and then you look out the passenger window, and then you look at the oncoming traffic, and every single flippin' person in the whole damn state bought the same car on the same day. They're everywhere. What the hell? Emotional refractory period. They've always been there. Go ahead.
Well, apparently I've had this quite backwards, or shifted. I thought it was when, so say for example, I know he used the example of when you're in a fight with somebody and then you want to keep maintaining that state. So for example, when you come to the car one, how your mind is sorting for stuff. I thought you were just that just happened to be the thing that was dominant on your mind. You just happened to be sorting for it. I didn't realize it was the very specific that we're labeling it emotional refractory period. Because then couldn't you also set your day up to be like, I just want to sort for things that are fun and that'll make me happy and focus on that. Like
that's also why the fight works in the emotional refractory period. Because now it's searching for what's familiar. You've set up this, I hate the word, but trigger. And right after you've set up that trigger, every single thing you say pushes that button. No different than once you buy that car, all of a sudden you see that car everywhere. And that would be the emotional refractory coming in.
Thank you.
Yeah. And that's, again, why I will push my clients to, for the entire year, if you have to, pick a day and set aside 5 minutes to go through that list of your person. And I tell them you have to handwrite it. I don't care if you can type 900 words a minute with 0 issues. There's something in the transference of handwriting. There's an energy transference. And I say, when you go back and read through that, you want to read every single one of them, because there will be certain ones where your subconscious will go, no, it's not a gray car, it's a blue car. And so you scratch that out and you replace it with the one that pops up. And I had one client that I keep pushing them, like, when's the last time you updated your, went over your list and everything. And they said that originally they had written down that their person had a red car. And then one day while they were going through it, they had a black car. Well, they all of a sudden met their person who had a black car. They had just bought it. They traded in their red car. And she was like, and I was like, holy. I went, yes, because you were connecting into your person before you met them. That's part of what the process is. You know, they say there's, 7 point something billion people on the planet. And yes, if you're a statistician and you've looked it up and you've got all, I get it. I'm close enough. And if we just, to keep things simple, say that half of them are men and half are women. Now, I don't want to hear about the 2,800 genders. They're somewhere in there, mixed somewhere else. And if we say half of them are married, just for playing around with numbers, that would mean that there's 1.75 billion single people out there. And if you're telling me that you can't find something that's within a 90% match of your description out of 1.75 billion people, I'd say that's a little pessimistic and a little arrogant. Why arrogant? Because for you to say, I am so unique and so special that this person that would match me doesn't even exist in 1.75 billion. I'm going to need like 37 billion before I can find somebody who can match my amazingness. Yeah, get over yourself. Maybe that's part of why you're still single. Might have to pick up a little humbleness. But beyond all that, if you were able to invest 1 year of writing down your absolute most amazingly perfect person, and in the end they were only a 90% match to that, would that not be better than the other idiots that you dated in the same meat suit? I just saying. The other reason for the 1 year moratorium is best told in a training that I heard by Mark Aceta from World Ventures. And it's a spin-off on that about if you're looking for a king or a queen in a deck of cards. And we're going to put king and queen at, same level so that ladies are, well, it's good. You know what, guys? Women are better than us anyway. I'm just going to put that out there. So if you're looking for a king or a queen in a deck of cards, and that's only 52, how many kings and how many queens are in a deck of cards? 4. What's the easiest way to find a king or a queen as fast as possible? Flip them cards as fast as you can. And if you're playing 21 in Vegas and they flip an 8, do you get to go, oh, come on, but you could be a king, you could be a king, come on, you can do it, I can help you, you just need a little help, we can work on that, you could be a king. No, they're like, no, it's an 8. Next. And don't stop until you get your king. Don't stop till you get your queen. And that's part of the 1-year moratorium. You're not dating, you're flipping cards in a way. And while you're playing, bring out all the sides, all the ingredients out of your pantry that you believe that your person would be attracted to. If in that list you find out that your person enjoys somebody a little bit more like Captain Jack or Sean Connery, you can change your personality, you can change your voice. The hardest people that it'll be to be around are going to be your family and friends that have known you since forever, and they're going to be like, what the hell's with you and that voice? Be like, my person likes it when I talk like this. Dude, you're not even dating. I know, but if I talk like this, she'll show up. And wait till you meet her. She's smoking hot. Why, is she better than that stripper you dated 3 years ago? Hey, she was smoking hot. She just was a hot mess. Yeah. Which brings us to the other part that you want on the list. You also describe all the things that you don't want in your person. And if any of the women that I've dated before are watching this, I'm not talking about you, but there were a couple of them that were all that in a bag of chips, but they were also triple dipped, sugar coated psychosis. Yes, cute and tasty with a side of, oh my, gotta go. And you don't need that. Which the 1-year moratorium gives you the freedom to say, I'm just looking to go out and make memories and have fun. And if you can get in with groups of people, like on Meetup or stuff like that, that are doing what your person would enjoy, that's even better because you're not one-on-one. You know, like I met my wife through Tall Singles Group, but it was run by the same person who also ran Cat Lovers and International Travelers and Tall Singles, even though he wasn't really that tall, and people would show up and they're like, well, I thought this was only for tall people, and I made him rewrite the description for the group as Tall Singles. All heights are welcome, because there are tall people that are attracted to short people, and there are short people that are attracted to tall people. And if you want to be around some tall people, this is where we'll be. If you want to be around people who love cats, they'll be here too. If you like international traveling, they'll be here too. And we had quite a number of couples come out of that group. And they weren't all tall. They didn't all love cats. I think there might have been one couple that were tall, loved cats, and loved to travel. Trifecta! And if you're in an area I had a client a couple of weeks ago that I've been working with, and she's like, "Well, there aren't any meetups around here." And she has 12 problems for every solution. So, yeah. But I said, if it doesn't exist, start one. So what do you like? I know you like beer. I know you like cats. Start 2 groups, beer lovers, cat lovers. Meet at Joe's bar with a yellow balloon. If nobody shows up, you had a purpose to go out and drink beer. If one cat lover shows up, even if they don't like beer, they can order foo-foo something and you can talk cats. If somebody in the bar goes, "What's with the balloon?" You go, "That's for a meetup group I started for beer lovers. Do you like beer? I noticed you have one in your hand. Let's talk beer. By the way, do you like cats?" Pretty soon you're meeting people, and it just costs you the time to set up 2 meetup groups. Be like Bill, you can have 3 on the same membership. So come up with 3 things you like. Pick a location, see who shows up. And then you get to be whoever you think your person will be attracted to, and you get to try it on for a year. Maybe it's too exhausting. Maybe trying to be Captain Jack crossed with Sean Connery, which was David's Captain Jack, the hypnotist. He does it amazingly well, but he doesn't do it all the time. It's a fun mask that he likes to put on. And there were a couple of things that I had to change when I was doing that. But one of the cool things when I was in my year was for the first time, I was one of the first ones to leave. I would show up, have my leathers, because I'd ride my motorcycle, walk in, but I would have a dress shirt and some nice new jeans on and my boots shined up, and go in the bathroom, do my power pose for 2 minutes. We can talk about that some other time. And I would go out and dance my skinny white booty off for 2-3 hours and have a blast. And then it was, yep, all right, gotta go. And there were a number of ladies that we were having fun, and they're like, "You're leaving already?" I'm like, "Yep." Because I wasn't looking to date. I was looking to make memories and have fun. And I went out with a number of them, but I've made it clear up front was I'm working on myself this year, so I won't be in a relationship until we can go out, we can do stuff. I love going out for supper or dinner, lunch, whatever, going out for a motorcycle ride, spending time, getting to know you. Then I would take them home and leave them at the door, head back and get on my bike. And then my wife came in and screwed that all up because I didn't make it a whole year, which I tell a lot of my clients is I challenge you to make it a year, because when you are that relaxed and not in search mode, the quality ones will be the ones that will stick around. And I look back now at a couple of the ladies that were in and that I spent some time with in that year. And there were a couple of them that if I hadn't been on the moratorium, I would have grabbed onto them right away. And I am so glad I didn't. And if you're one of them, it's not you, it's one of the other ones. Yeah. But get help. So, any input, questions on that? Yes.
I was racing a million. I have like a million questions. So I guess my first question is, when you're making the list, how do I ask this? Several different questions with it. So first of all, if you keep dating the same person in the same meat suit, is there a risk that your list is going to be that same person in that same meat suit, and that you need to update it to something new?
That is a great question. And one of the things I forgot to say is, don't describe your last 10 people. Go with what your subconscious gives you for the first answer. How tall? Now, if the last 12 people that you dated are all 5'8", it's obvious you're attracted to somebody that's 5'8". That's cool. One of the things that I do with my clients that is a little unique is, once we get close to, about 7 months, 6 months into it, I'll have them check back in, and no, I'm not one of those that, we're going to have an appointment every week for 6 months. No, this is homework. You do it on your own time. If you really want to meet the person, you'll do your due diligence, do your homework. But somewhere down the road there is, we'll do a protocol where we'll take that list and we'll hand it up to higher power, your higher self, source, God, whoever, and allow them to review the list and tell you what things you need to change. And one of the most classic ones, one of the first people I worked with on this, she was part of our dance group, and she had tried everything. She'd tried online dating, and she'd tried blind dates and traditional dates, and I think she had tarot cards, and they waved a dead chicken over the sun. There were no chickens involved. Just kidding. It was a rubber chicken. It was a toy chicken. Stop typing. And she just ended up with the same jerks in a different meat suit. So she came to me after I took some convincing, and, yeah, I've done that, and do the list. Yeah, I've already done that. Good, then it'll be easy for you. Pull out your old list, go over it, do it this way a little differently, and then come to me. So she brought her list, and when she came out of trance, she goes, he said he has salt and pepper hair. I've never been attracted to men with salt and pepper hair. And I'm like, I haven't said that phrase, and I don't know how, that did not come from me. I'm blonde, didn't have this chrome at the time, so I couldn't even claim that it was this. And I said, well, maybe that's the problem. She always had dark brown hair on her list. 2 weeks later, I show up at the club for one of our dance get-togethers. She comes running up, gives me a big hug, and whispers in my ear, "Yeah, salt and pepper hair." I'm like, what? She's like, uh-huh. Turns out it was one of the guys that was in our group. She'd known him for almost 2 years. But because she had her idea of what she was attracted to, she didn't even see him. Emotional refractory period. because she paid no attention to him at all, he didn't really see her either. As soon as the veil was lifted and she could see, started looking, saw Salt and Pepper Hair, oh, there he was, right in plain sight for 2 years. I am pleased to announce they are still together. They have been together ever since a week after Source told her that Salt and Pepper Hair is what she's looking for, and they are the perfect match. And of course, I still like to give her a little shit about it. Like, yeah, he's got salt and pepper hair, huh? Just saying. Just saying. Any other, you said you had hundreds of questions, so.
I probably wouldn't ask all of them, but I'll ask a couple. So my next question is, like, do you think, I mean, and maybe this gets into is this a statistics thing, or is this a, spiritual energetic thing? But like, do you think it's a situation where the person we're supposed to be with, like, has always been, I can think of situations where the person's always been there, it was just they were getting ready to see each other, but also situations where if you fundamentally change as a person, if you really grow, if you whatever, and you haven't found your person yet, do you think it's possible the person you're supposed to be with, that your good match, is going to shift fundamentally as well?
I've got a couple of different angles on that, and Francine texted in, I will send the replay to my eldest. He's a serial killer. So does he typically date Cheerios or Fruit Loops? Fruit Loops!
He's got an ability to go for Fruit Loops.
Yes. Tell him to stop being Count Chocula. Or maybe he needs to be Count Chocula. Anyhow, back to Holly's question. Part of what I also added into the deal, like for my wife and I getting together, you also have to allow the concept that the universe has its timing. Had I met my wife 8 years ago, 10 years ago, we would not be together. A, she was still married. But B, even if she had been single, the person that I was 8, 9, 10 years ago is not who I am today. And she would not have dated me. She would not have dated that version of me. And in taking where you've come from and what you've learned, the lessons that you've learned, who you've become, and especially if you're attending a class or working with me, you are now cognitively advancing yourself in a way that you weren't able to do before. Brings us back to the concept of back then you did the best you could at the time with the tools, knowledge, and energy you had available to you. Now that's changed. And now you may have finally prepared yourself to be the person that the person you deserve would want. And you may have had to give them enough time to get their feces in order to be the person that you deserve. Does that help? Does that make sense?
It does help. Yeah, part of the reason I'm asking the question is I'm just looking over my life. Like, for instance, at one point I had a list and I found the guy who matched that list. And I mean, the whole story is basically, the one thing I forgot to put on there is that he likes me back. And so I found the guy that met my list, he didn't like me back. But I think it was a good experience because I needed to learn that that list that I was making was not the right list for me, even though I thought it was the right list for me. And but then there have also been times when I tried to say, who's that person? And nobody comes up. But I think that's because I needed to become somebody new. Yeah. And then, so I just would like, is it, there's one person and it's just when you're both right for each other, you're right for each other? Or is it, hey, there's 4 different people. And if I'm right for this person at this time, we'll get together. But if not, then maybe the next person will now be the right fit, depending on what we both do jointly to get there.
2 parts for that. Be right with you, Francine. 2 parts for that. Yes, you have to make sure that on that list you put down that they are both physically and spiritually, mentally available. Just because they're single doesn't mean they're spiritually, mentally available. Or they're in a less than favorable, they're still married to the wrong person. Spiritually and mentally, they are so ready for you. But physically, they're not. The other part, that old list was written by the old Holly. That's why even when I'm working with them, you go over it as much as possible for a year, because hopefully during that year, you are cognitively working hard on yourself, especially when you reflect on that list and go, wow, I look at this list and it says that they're attracted to people who like broccoli, and I've never liked broccoli. Well, that gives me a year to figure out some recipes that I like broccoli in. Then all of a sudden you figure out that fresh steamed broccoli with some sea salt and some fresh cheddar, little Parmesan, and a little real butter. Oh, that's not the broccoli that my mother overboiled into green mush, had no flavor, and I was 3 years old when I decided that I absolutely hated broccoli. Follow what I'm saying? Anything else on that? I'm having fun with this, so this is probably, yes. Oh, I'm sorry, Francine. Yes, please.
Yeah, I was thinking, you know, I intuitively did something similar before I met Simon. And one of the things that was on my list, it was the stuff I didn't want it. And I think that's really important. Yes. One of the things I had on my list was that he's English speaker. I didn't speak English at the time, so that was kind of entertaining.
Yeah, right? Yeah, that's...
Because I didn't speak English at the time.
It's funny, my successful clients have all said, like, holy cow, I look back at this list and it is so accurate. Yeah, because when you go to a restaurant and you order, if the chef says order anything you want exactly the way you want, chances are you're going to get it. This dating is not a good place to order the surprise special.
Yeah. Something else is that every time I met someone that I really, there was part of it that I didn't like, I used to add it to my
Yes.
document.
Yeah.
And when I had stuff I liked about them, and I think what I really liked was the having fun part. And I think Simon and I will be married for 30 years. We know each other for 33, 35 years. And we've had, and still have, a lot of fun.
Good. Absolutely.
like fun. And I'm not talking, like just general.
Yeah, no.
And it's worth it. It's really worth it.
That's more important than anything. And I'm glad you brought that up, because that needs to be on the list. The long term, not just the short game, but the long game. What's important to you in the long game? How do we keep it fun and alive? My partner works with me to find ways to keep it fun long term.
Something else is that at the time, everybody was telling me, "Oh no, he doesn't want to get involved. He doesn't." And I said, "Oh, that's all right. That's okay. We'll just get to know each other." Well, yeah, 30 years later.
Yeah, and that was probably one of the best catalysts. If he wasn't interested in dating, it took a lot of the pressure off.
Yes, we both weren't interested in
Yeah. Same with my wife and I. I was, 7.5 months into my year having a blast. She just got divorced and was like, enough of that. And so we just hung out and we were ourselves. Not impression like, hey, you want to go do something, and really got to know each other. Plus, I also at that time had already learned Echo Talk, 3 magic questions, values and criteria. So I wasn't the same person I was 10 years ago in that respect either. I was much better at communicating. In fact, one story that I especially laugh about the most was she was coming to classes with me, and Dr. David was teaching a class on Echo Talk, 3 magic questions and values and criteria. And about 3/4 of the way through 3 magic questions, all of a sudden I can feel eyes upon my head as she's going, finally I look at her and she's like, "Did you do that to me?" I'm like, "No. No. If I did, you'd be happy, because the way it worked, right, honey?" So there's also that. And wow, that hour went by super quick. Anything else on what I expected to be 20 minutes?
Since we're already down the hole, this is probably an obvious answer, but so is this something that you should also continue to do once you're in a relationship, to make sure you keep becoming the person in the future that the person you want to be with still wants to be with? Or
Absolutely, yes. Yes, because we are humans, we continue to evolve. And the cool part is, if we conscientiously work on bringing new stuff to the table, one of 2 things will happen. Either they will grow with us, or they will prove that we were close. From when Lillian Pearl Bridges, she really hit me hard when she talked about the canoes in the water, how everybody is a canoe, has their own canoe for their entire life. And we're paddling down the river, just trying to survive, stay above, get through the rapids and everything. And then when we get married, people think that, the 2 become one, and we share the canoe. No, you're still 2 people paddling your own canoes. You've just made an agreement to paddle with each other for support, conversation, relationship, all the above. But you're still in your own canoe. And if you don't work on conscientiously staying next to each other, it's not very hard to drift. And there are so many tributaries on all these rivers. One day you wake up and you find out your person is way over here. You're both still paddling, but you've lost communication. You don't know what happened. And you don't necessarily know how to get back over the landmass in between the two of you. And it's going to take work. And some will successfully do it. Some, they're not that far apart. They're still on the same body of water. They just needed to, oh, shit, got some distance. We got to figure that out.
Yeah, I think that's very important, because Simon and I, we've been like this, and there's been a body of water between, a body of earth between, and we decided to get back together.
Yeah.
So yeah, it takes constant effort. And what's beautiful as well is that when I do a course and I get up here, he will kind of follow up, and then he'll do a course and be up here, and then I'll follow up. So it takes conscious effort, and not today, but normally he's listening to this and laughing in the background. Because he's working from home and I'm in the kitchen. So it takes conscious effort, but it's not a chore. It's actually kind of nice when you actually make an effort to get back closer to the other person. It's like falling in love right over again.
Yes.
Does that make sense? Yeah, it's just, it's really nice. It's so worth it.
And that's where you have to communicate, but make sure that that's on your list. Or else, like the comedian Jeff Allen was talking about, how you see the shriveled up guys that don't communicate, and they're not allowed to be men, and they're walking behind the wife and they're grumbling the whole time. And she's like, what? Nothing. I'm just, I'm happy. And I don't want to be that person. And I don't want any of my clients to be in that relationship. So that's why I work so hard at helping people with this. So that brings us 4 minis from the top of the hour, and there's our wonderful, beautiful Fran. Thank you for joining us, hon. Always happy to see that smile. Yay, winning! What was that? Okay, so she's got the W, I've got the Y. MCA!
You win. I mean, the fly.
We were going over my talk in Hypno Thoughts Live, which will be on dating in the new decade. So lots of protocols and interesting, fun stuff, and some great questions. But that brings us to the top of the hour. And one of the things that I had left that I put on my Facebook post was thoughts on quotes. And I've found some interesting quotes, but this is your guys' hour, so I don't want to jump in and take over. If you guys have questions or something, input or things like that, please, no questions are too crazy, or this is open mic. This is your time. Here I am. Anybody? Bueller? Okay, well, then if something comes up, please, utilize your time, but I've got a bunch of quotes that I had a whole bunch last week, and so I got even more this week. And here's one I thought was really cute was, speak when you are angry and you will make the best speech you will ever regret. By Ambrose Bierce. Yeah, there's a lot into that, isn't there? Go ahead, talk your mind when you are angry. You'll make the best speech you'll ever regret. Rawr. And sometimes you have to do that, but it's better to have control of that part. Here's another one. A ship in a harbor is safe, but that's not why ships are built. By John A. Shedd. I'll read it again. A ship in a harbor is safe, but that's not why ships are built. We have to be willing to get out there and do what we're able to do and get out in the ocean. Can't remember if it was Polynesian saying or something, but it was the easiest way to learn how to pray is take a boat out in the ocean. There are no atheists in foxholes. Next one. Don't let the fear of doing it wrong stop you from doing it at all. Even if you do end up doing it wrong, there's lessons inside of that. And the truest way to fail is to either not do anything at all or to quit and not learn a lesson if it doesn't go right. How many times can you get up after you fall down? Look at babies. Thank God as children we don't go, well, this walking thing ain't working for me. I've already fell down like 10 times and look at these adults doing it. I just don't know how to walk. I can't walk. I'm just going to have to crawl for the rest of my life. No, they're like, I'm going to get this figured out. And the majority of us have. What else we got here? Oh, right in line with what we were talking about earlier. Your task is not to seek for love, but merely to seek and find all the barriers within yourself that you have built against it. Rumi. I will read it again because, yes, I had the same reaction. I saw it in some of your faces like, oh. So your task is not to seek for love, but merely to seek and find all the barriers within yourself that you have built against it. Yeah, that one hit me hard because I must have tore down about 75 barriers before I met my wife, which is good. Otherwise, I'd still be single. Because again, the common denominator in all the relationships that I was in that didn't work out, me. Any questions, input, comments on that one before I've got 2 left, and then we're stuck with squirrels and.
I would like some quotes on losing your way and finding it again, preferably.
Okay. In regards to one of the quotes or after I get these last two quotes done.
Both.
Okay. Which quote would you like me to expound upon or clarify?
I don't know. I'm hoping you'll pluck something out of the air.
Okay. I'll read the last two because I think one of them is also going to help in this, and then we'll deep dive into that. And Lenora, you were going to say something quick?
The first one that you said about, I think it was something about arguments.
Speak when you are angry and you will make the best speech you ever will regret.
Thank you. That was the one. I work with a lot of seniors who have been married for like 60, 70 years, like extraordinary timeframes. And every time I ask them, like, oh, what's your secret? And I've gotten so many good answers over the years. I wish I had written them down to create a book. And one of them, she had said, once you say it, you can never take it back. It's said. And I thought that one really, really stuck with me in my head. I have said my fair share of things in a disagreement, but I always thought that was a really good one because it's wildly accurate. Once it's out, you can't take it back.
Yep.
So,
the other version I heard of that is once the arrow leaves the bow,
mm-hmm.
you can't grab it back.
Yeah, good one.
And when you are an advanced linguist, seriously, it's even worse because we know how to turn words into weapons quite well. And if you study Chinese facial reading, squirrel, one thing you can look for is the inner canthi of the eye. If it hooks down sharp, these are people that are skilled at using words as weapons. One of our students was an attorney, a defense attorney, very skilled. And the funny part was, in the classroom, funny, easy to get along with, awesome dude. But I asked him about one of his worst cases, and his right eye, business eye, boom. I mean, you talk about a knife, needle, inner canthi. I was like, whoa, dude. He's like, what? I went, yeah, you're good in the courtroom. Your face just showed me. I don't even have to hear. Yeah, wordsmith deluxe and can slice and dice in a heartbeat. Yes, Fran.
I haven't got the quote right, but there was something I heard once about divorced parents, and you were talking about arrows, and that's, never say harsh words about your partner or your ex-partner in front of your children, because your arrow will go through your children first.
Exactly. I've had a number of clients that were married and going through stuff, and they were asking about whether or not, well, I'm thinking about getting a divorce. And squirrel, one of the first things I ask anybody who's in a relationship, especially a marriage, is the deal. I say, now this is only a question. It's not, we're not putting it out in the universe, nothing like that. But heaven forbid, if your partner forgot to wake up in the morning, went peacefully during the night, and after however much time it takes you to mourn, whether that be a month, a year, a decade, whatever, if one day you bumped into their absolute, down to the DNA, background, all the above, identical twin. Same mannerisms, same everything. And the only difference is they didn't know you. Would you date them again? And then I watch. And a pause is an answer. I've had a couple of them, very few, but a couple of them, yes. I'm like, then we're going to fight with everything we can to figure out how to save your marriage. I've also had a number of them in a split second, no. I'm like, then why are you with them? Well, the kids. I'm like, worst answer ever. I said, because I don't care how good of actors you think you are, your kids know something is up, even if they don't know. They can feel it. They walk into the house and the energy is off. Mom and dad have smiles on their faces and the energy is dark as night. And the kids learn that that's acceptable. And it often transfers with them, because I've got a number of them when we go back and figure out why they're having issues in relationships. Eventually, mom and dad got divorced or something, but they felt that energy when they were 4, 5, 6 years old. And they carried it with them into their relationships. Yes, Frank.
Okay, well, people as individuals and people in a partnership evolve and change over time. That's just how humans are. So if the cause for not getting on is changing in different directions, sometimes the redirecting or the finding common ground can be a reestablishing of what was lost along the way. Have you got comments on that?
We went over this a little bit before you were able to join us. It's okay. What with the ability for people to evolve, even Francine had talked about with her husband Simon, they continue to improve upon themselves, but they keep their eye on the prize of staying together, realizing that they're working on each other. Lillian Pearl Bridges' description of how everybody, once we're born, we're in a canoe, our own canoe on the river of life, and mistakenly we think that when we get married, two become one, and we're in the same canoe, and we're not. We're still paddling our own canoe. The marriage says that I will paddle next to you for the rest of my life. I will help you through the turbulent waters, all the above. But so many people, my parents included, absolutely drifted apart. They were roommates at best by the time my mother came to me when I was 28 and said that she was thinking about leaving my father. And without hesitation, I mean, like that, I looked right at her and said, well, about time. And she was like, what? I said, Mom, you and Dad have been roommates at best. When's the last time he even dated you? He had gotten so complacent that he just took it for granted. And I love both of my parents immensely. And luckily, my father moved in with me temporarily for 9.5 years. And in that time, I finally got an opportunity to clear him up, because he went into the pity party. Oh, woe is me, she got everything, I got nothing, and she left me, and I was like, no, you forgot how to date her. You had an amazing wife and took her for granted and pissed it away. And that's the importance of making sure that you continue to work on yourself harder than anything, but keep in mind your partner's advancement and interaction in your growth as well. And I'm going to go in the face of religion, you know, the religion that I grew up with and all the above, where, you know, people are supposed to be, you know, marriage lasts forever and you go through everything. And I'm sorry. At one point I believed that, but at the other point, I also believe that sometimes people pick the wrong person or the right person at a point in their life, but farther down the line, they are no longer that person. That's why I'm so glad that I didn't meet my wife 20 years ago, because we would be divorced. I was not a relationship person 20, 30 years ago. I know I was engaged 30 years ago. If I would have followed through on that with what I know about who she is today and who I am today, I can say with high percentage of certainty that we would not be together. So that's the other part of my drive, is to make sure that people are in and pushing for the best relationship that they can be with themselves and with their person. And that also means constantly working on yourself, and leads us right to one of the last two quotes. And this one is, unexpressed emotions will never die. They are buried alive and will come forth later in uglier ways. That's Sigmund Freud. And if you don't take care of them and extract the lessons and allow the rest of the ugliness to go away and die permanently, they will live inside of you for the rest of your life. I know, because I get to help people go back in and find them and remove the lesson, clean up, get rid of the energy that wasn't serving them, and move forward. And then the last quote is by Abraham Lincoln. Man, intelligent way beyond his years. You cannot help men permanently by doing for them what they could and should do for themselves. Again, you cannot help men permanently by doing for them what they could and should do for themselves. And so with the work that we do, I think it's a kind of a special, unique situation. Is a lot of people come to us because they can't find Witch Doctor in the Yellow Pages. Direct quote from Dr. David. And they're looking for help, but we can't be there every day for them, nor should we be. Our job is to give them a tune-up, help them figure out how to help themselves, and then allow them to move on with life, and they can come back for another tune-up, but we're not there to constantly run the machine for them. And that's where the identity change and identity concept comes in, is as we continue to evolve and go through the identity changes that life throws at us, we have to be able to keep with the evolution and the evolving, even if we don't know what it looks like in a year. Put out your best picture. There is reaching as many of the parents as possible, because we only get so much voice and time and exposure. And a number of the parents either A, don't realize it's happening, deny that it's happening, or don't think that there's anything they can do about it. And with a number of the clients that I work with, I like to ask them if they have kids, because one of the first things that I let them know is it's even more paramount that you work on yourself, because your kids will take on things that you don't want them to, no matter what you say. It's not what you say, it's what you believe and what you do. One example that Dr. David brought up in one of the trainings was this mother who had like 4 kids, and she had very poor self-image, low self-confidence, poor self-image. But if you ask her about her kids are the most brilliant, amazing, intelligent. She told them every single day, you are awesome, you are intelligent, you're amazing, you are loved, all the above. When her kids got older, a majority of them were in therapy for self-image, lack of confidence. But if you ask them about their mother, she was the most amazing, brilliant, intelligent, beautiful woman ever. They could parrot her words, but they picked up all of her emotional feelings, regardless of what she told them. And now we're seeing kids being in environments that are outside of the viewing protection of the parents, and being exposed and turned on to things that, you know what, I don't care if you're watching this and you disagree. No, they should not be exposed to what's going on right now. And the biggest part is the contrast between it's acceptable and when they realize that it wasn't, because that's an identity paradigm with guilt and issues attached to it that we don't even know about yet. Those in our industry just know what we're dealing with people who grew up in healthy homes, or healthy enough homes, who had to deal with very minimal exposure to some of the stuff that's going on right now. And going right back to labels, it doesn't, nothing means anything until you give it a label. They are throwing around labels now like Mardi Gras beads, and attaching such levels of energy and importance and all the above to them that it's dividing and tearing people apart like crazy.
Just jumping back to what you were saying about the unspoken words being transferred. That happens with family lineages and family beliefs as well. And we're dealing with all this unseen stuff. It's what's under the iceberg. If we're trying to help people and help ourselves, and no, it's when you suddenly find yourself at a brick wall that you realize that maybe something behind you was actually your programming and needs looking at.
One of the, and I'm glad you brought up the metaphor of the brick wall. Lenora, was it you that shared with me one of the reframing techniques where the author will ask questions about how people describe their issues? I feel like I'm drowning. Okay, and if you're drowning, how much water is around you? Well, it's like I'm in an ocean. Okay. But I want you to notice it may be wide, but how deep is it? And in doing so, the client subconscious said, it's only knee deep. She just realized she had to stand up for herself and teach her kids how to stand up as well, because they were drowning in the same ocean. She was going through a divorce. And with the brick wall, my question would be, who built it? How long's it been there? What is it actually made of, and how thick is it? And how deep is it? Are we able to dig underneath it? Because some brick walls are right flat on top of the soil, and if it's only sand, well, we could dig under that thing in a heartbeat.
Or if you change the molecules of your body, you can walk right through it.
See, I love that 3 solutions to every event, situation, or problem, and look at that. Boom. You are now a superhero.
I had a quick question. I mean, for our group, or people that listen, like, obviously personal growth is important to them. How do you convey that to other people, that it is something? I feel like there's a stigma to it, and I could just be, that could just be my own labeling information that I got. How else can you explain to people, like, this is something that you want to be working on so that you can better yourself, you can better help the other people around you? Maybe I'm missing some words. Open to the group.
Well, I believe the stigma came especially during the 80s. I'm okay, you're okay, self-help, and people got super pumped up about it, and those that didn't understand it were like, here we go again, she's found herself, blah, blah, blah. And one of the better explanations was, there was a time when I used to have to wear diapers when I was a kid, but I did some self-work and learned how to not be dependent on that. Some people quit at that. Some of us want to keep growing. and I think everybody should. When's the last time you did something for the first time? If you can't remember, it's been way too long.
Then that kind of loops back into relationships, that one party, one of the people wants to change and evolve and is excited about it, and the other wants things to stay the same. And that immediately creates massive divergence.
Yes, and that's why part of people who are looking, and you could even put this on a manifestation list if you're already in a relationship, that your partner suddenly becomes interested in growing. If not, again, I hate to say it, but a lifetime is a long time to be with the wrong person. And I've said it many times that being lonely when you're single sucks. Being lonely when you're in a relationship sucks 100 times more. Been there, done that. Oh my. That's where I also had to reevaluate what was the common denominator. Me. But a part of it was my perception of my self-worth. I've often used car metaphor. I was lucky enough at one time to be dating a Ferrari, but I didn't see myself as somebody worthy of owning a Ferrari, so I just figured I was lucky enough to be blessed with being able to take it for a test drive for a while. Pictured myself more of a, 68 Camaro or a 79 F-150 type fix-it-up type of thing. And so I eventually left the Ferrari for what I thought was a Camaro, which turned out to be a Geo Metro. And then the Ferrari hit me with a bit of information that rocked me right to 7 generations deep. Because by the time I left the Geo Metro, the Ferrari was already married to somebody who was literally physically and mentally abusing her, beating her up, broke her nose, broke her arm. And I was like, what are you doing with him? And she looked at me and she said, you wouldn't marry me. I was this close to going out and buying a ring and asking you to marry me because I figured you wouldn't do it. And I literally stood there with my jaw on the ground. And I went, why would you want to marry me? I had nothing to give you compared to what she had. And she said, you were the first guy who ever treated me like I wanted to be treated, not like arm candy or a prize. And it really hit me hard. And I was like, wow. Even though I don't own a lot, I had something to offer that I didn't think I had. And it made me reevaluate my self-worth and what I was looking for in a partner. And so when I did my 1-year deal, I put down there that my ego would be in check regardless of what level my person is at. And turns out I dated well outside my pay grade.
And one other thing that perhaps we haven't looked at is people do change. And sometimes having the privilege to be with somebody for a period of time until you reach a point where, yes, you have grown apart. It is a privilege. And even if it ends up angry and dirty or whatever, it's still a real blessing that a lot of that journey, maybe not all of it, but there's so much that can be gleaned out of even, not so great relationships.
Yeah. Yep, that's why one thing that I refuse to do is tell people to leave or to stay in a relationship. Because I'm not the person in the relationship. It's really good to be the what do they call it? The bleacher coach. Come on, coach, what kind of a call was that? Well, I'm not in the relationship, but I will point out stuff. I will ask questions. I will create introspective searching. I've had 2 couples come to me because one of them came and I was asking questions. They're like, oh, I want my husband to see you. And I went, first off, I'll let you know, I am not a marriage therapist. I will work with both of you separately. I will help both of you improve who you are separately. I will not do it to keep you together or to get you apart. You have to both understand that in finding out who you are and improving yourself may cause you to realize that you are not meant to be together anymore. Your relationship has served its service. I want you to also realize that it may pull you together tighter than ever. That's why I refuse to tell you to leave or to stay. And ironically, one of the couples ended up getting a divorce amicably. Still love and care for each other. They were just like, wow, you deserve somebody else, and so do I. And they both agreed on it. They had grown into 2 people that were so different that they didn't want to invest the rest of their potential life trying to live together and work with what was there. Luckily, the other couple was like, oh, no wonder I get pissed off when you do this. And no wonder and values and criteria had a massive part of that, and learning communication. And ironically, I taught both of them Echo Talk, 3 Magic Questions, and values and criteria. And that's why the couple that, and they weren't meant for each other. They got together out of back in the day, high school, lustful, fun. She got pregnant and they got married. So all the fun stuff of relationships. Any other input, ahas, comments on that? Now that we've gotten all heavy and yay.
How to break up amicably.
That is ego control, and especially understanding Divorce Incorporated. Divorce Incorporated is actually a movie that the divorce industry totally freaked out about, and the lawyers that were willing to stick their neck out and reveal the inner workings of divorces got blacklisted to a level that tells you that exactly what they were saying was true. When when, especially in the States, the United States, if a couple wants to get a divorce, we have been brainwashed into believing that you have to go through a divorce lawyer. You can actually go up to the courthouse, file a paper, sign it, pay for it, and you're done. It's that simple. When you go to a divorce lawyer, they will ask for a list of assets so that they can legally help you decide who gets what. In Divorce Incorporated, they expose that they do this so they can figure out how much they can charge you. What is your property's net worth? How can we create enough paperwork to, go ahead, Fran.
I was going to say that kind of like grief, I think split ups and divorces go through stages.
Yes.
And like you said, when lawyers come in, things get dirty. And at the beginning, if there are amicable beginnings, there's this time of cooperation when everybody wants to help everybody else and make the best deal for everybody else and the best support for everybody else. But after about 3 months, everybody starts working towards, or this is what I've observed anyway, people tend to work towards, well, I want this, I want that, and you can't do this and you can't do that. You've got that kind of period of grace at the beginning, hopefully before lawyers get involved, where you can actually sort a lot of things out. So have you noticed anything like that, or has anybody else noticed anything like that?
Well, to answer that quick, then I'll get to Lenora. When my mother decided to leave my father, luckily I had seen that movie just before that. And I explained it to her and I said, you don't need a lawyer. Here's where you go. Here's the paperwork. Dad signs it in front of a notary and you're done. And if I have to step in and be the strong arm, Mom's like, I don't want anything. I don't. She got a little efficiency apartment the size of this office and bought a twin bed and grabbed the love seat from the house and a few of her things, and that was it, and left everything else for Dad. And Dad still went in the pity trip that she got everything. Now, I had another client that came to me, and among all of the other stuff that we had to clear up was her relationship was done. Her husband was not entirely the problem, but a good portion of it. But she went against my advice and got a lawyer. And unfortunately, I was very correct. The movie panned out exactly the way it said. Pitted her and her ex against each other and wouldn't allow them to contact each other. It had to be done through the lawyer's office at like $300 a correspondence, with stupid answers in the correspondence, which needed more questions, which added up just like that. And so there's part of finding out, how do you keep your ego in check? How do you, instead of blame it on the other person, understand that it took both of you to paddle this far down the river. And aside from, abuse and true devout narcissistic roles on one behalf or something like that, if it was simply drifting apart that far until it's not worth trying to climb over the landmass in between to get the canoes on the same level again, you're running the risk of that rapid being a rough ride.
And then, as you kind of opened up there, then there's the situations where you want to make sure that your ex-spouse can't find you. And I don't know what the laws are in the USA about, the recipient receiving papers and signing papers. But, sometimes you want to make sure that you're as far away as is humanly possible and untraceable, because it's dangerous.
And talk about an identity change upgrade. And how do you control the fear and start over, completely start over? And I'm not going to lie, there were a couple of times in my lifetime where the idea, and I actually had basically the opportunity with some of the travel that I did, to where I could have easily dropped off the face of the earth for everybody that knew me. Because in essence, I was starting over with hardly anything. So I understand that part, but not out of fear of the mob finding me or the ex finding me or something like that. It was more just I was so sick and tired of stuff, and life put me into a situation where I had to bounce and reinvent myself. And back to the part about the kids, Squirrel, I think that every kid, before they get into college, they should graduate high school and have to go somewhere on their own for at least a year minimum, where they don't know anybody and nobody knows them. Because what will happen is they will be forced to figure out who the hell they are. That box isn't there anymore. It's up to them to show people who they are. When I went to Europe for a year, it was one of the absolute best blessings that God has ever bestowed upon me. Because I thought I knew who I was. I went to Europe for a year where nobody knew me. I didn't speak the language. I had to learn how to adapt and improvise. And I found out when I came back home, I didn't fit in their box anymore. And trust me, they tried their damnedest to push me back into that box that they had built for me, that they knew who I was and all the above. And luckily, I was strong enough to understand that if you push too hard, I will go back somewhere where nobody knows me so I can be who I am, or you're going to accept me who I am today. Frame wars. Those who hold the frame the longest win. And I know Lenora was going to say something, and I bumped you and moved on. Did you still have that comment or question, please?
It was just a comment. I found it very interesting that Fran had said she noticed a 3-month grace period, where I feel like that's at the beginning of a relationship when you are wearing a mask and you're like, don't do anything wrong and 3-month grace period. So it was very interesting to see that on, or hear about that on the other end.
Yeah, isn't it amazing how 90 days is about an SRU package of us going, okay, I'll be somebody else. And screw it. I'm going to be this person now, damn it. Whether you like it or not. Which, circle back, brings us back to the 1 year moratorium because that's longer than 3 months. Francine?
I liked the thing what you said at the beginning, that when you meet someone new, when you're dating, you can try all these different masks. I'm actually doing that at the moment, trying all these different masks to find the one that suits me best, but still within my family, and they think it's kind of funny because they quite enjoy it as well. It's fun, and yeah, I like the different masks. Yeah.
You know what I love the most about that is the fact that you can say that means that your family understands you're growing. You're still growing. You're still evolving. That will never. My family knows every time they meet me, they're not quite sure who's showing up.
Isn't it exciting with who are you going to be today?
Yes. Yeah, the tall, skinny white boy still shows up, but they're like, oh my gosh, okay, so what mask is he going to be wearing today? It might have glitter. It might have Elvis glasses. I might have a disco ball hanging out. It does, but that's why we have to accept the fact and embrace the fact that we are constantly evolving and get that privilege. We're not a tree. We can move, we can evolve, we can be whoever we want.
And isn't it interesting that it's kind of like throwing a pebble in the pond? If you're somebody different today, everybody else is reflected and behaves differently toward you. So it does shake relationships up. It does give you new aspects of who people are just by changing you.
But also when you live with your adult children, it shows them that nothing is nothing is constant in life. You make what you want out of it, and
yes,
me improving myself and me healing part of what happened to me showed them that they can work on their lives, and they can, my daughter says, Mom, you've changed so much. I prefer who you are today, which is,
Yes. Isn't that fantastic? And it gives them the freedom to be who they want to be and need to be. You're teaching them so beautifully, even as big kids.
Just to give a bit of background, my daughter completely cut me off for a couple of years, no contact at all. And now we're like two pieces apart. For me, that's probably the most beautiful thing ever. It's just so nice. So because I noticed that I was I did things differently in the past, and now I worked on myself, and I'm a better person for it, I suppose. I'm getting a bit emotional, so it's worth it. It's so worth it.
Awesome. And here's another little part, especially when you get to travel. When you're traveling and nobody knows you, and you get to be whoever you want to be, what an opportunity to try different masks. One of the things that when I fly, I could dress comfortably have a t-shirt and whatever. And you see some people, it's like, did you just leave your living room? You know, but I will specifically put on a nice button-up shirt. One of my favorite ties, the one I use the most, is I've got one of Winnie the Pooh, a little bit of attitude on him that gets reactions from all ages. I make sure that my boots are shined up and that I've got a good pair of jeans on, a nice new looking pair of jeans. And I get treated differently. And I make it a point to walk and hold myself differently. And if you ever get the chance, the next time you travel, put on a mask of somebody who is very important and has a lot of money just for fun. Even if you're sitting in business class or at the very back of the plane, it doesn't matter. It's interesting how I still got treated differently than when I would simply just wear something to be comfortable. I watched the person in front of me with their sweats, their flip-flops, because it's easy to pull off their shoes, which is still, I find, incredibly stupid, because one idiot watched a little too much of Roadrunner show and thought he was going to have Acme bombs in his shoe. Now everybody in the whole planet has to take their shoes off. But if anything seems a little weird, that person gets pulled over and questioned much faster than I do. So that's another opportunity, another location where you can try different masks on. And share that with your kids. In fact, if you want to have some fun, start, especially with your kids, start asking them who they would like to see you be for 2 hours. And see what they would pick up. Just if you could be a certain movie personality for 2 hours, who should I be today, just for fun? And try and pick out that. And you don't have to do it for the kids, Fran. You could do it yourself, just for gits and shiggles. Just what temporary mask could I design and put on in a way that like Marilyn Monroe versus Norma Jean? That was a personality, a persona that she could turn on and off just like that. Well, if you're going to go out into public and go grocery shopping, wouldn't it be fun just to try out some gold glitter with a couple of lasers on my mask, just to see what the reaction is? And if you have one thing, Squirrel, I can't remember the name of the song, but it talked about people going into the thrift store and buying, some of grandparents' crazy clothes and putting them on, and they go down to the club and they come walking in. They've got grandpa's big, leather coat with the big fur deal on it, and they've got Elvis glasses and just totally off the chart stuff, and walk in and they they do everything they can to fit the clothing, fit the persona. The bright red suit, bright white tie, come walking in and just strut it off and see how long you can pull it off. Just as an exercise in identity and mask configurations, and see how they feel when you do that. Do you feel giddy and giggly and fun, or how do you get over the anxiety of, well, I wonder what they're thinking? And what's the quote? If you would probably be bummed out when you realize that all the people you thought were thinking about you weren't.
I have to tell you a little story about all the people I thought were thinking about me. I was at college and I was going home on the bus and everybody was looking at me, and I thought, wow, I must be displaying confident, feeling good, looking good. And people just kept looking at me. And then I got home and looked in the mirror and I got a great big black mark on the end of my nose. And that was so deflating. They weren't thinking I looked great.
And the stories that came along with it. And when you think about the number of people that have the reverse, they were looking great. Oh, all right, Holly. But they thought that people were looking at them because they, something's wrong and they're freaking out. They're going, oh my God, do I have a booger hanging out my nose, or, whatever. And they don't take for granted that they're just attractive, that people like their energy. I think those are the ones I feel the worst for. Lack of self-confidence robs more happiness, I think, than we give it credit for. And I don't mean it as in self-confidence, because if you've been around Triple T long enough, I hate that one because it's an end product. I guess more self-image. When we think about what we have available to us, what we're capable of doing compared to any time in history and a good portion of the planet regardless,
we might have been burned at the stake for being magical people in times gone by.
right? Francine?
I was that kind of person where I used to think, oh, people are looking at me, there's something wrong with me. And then, I don't know, probably about 5-6 years ago, I did a photo shoot with a photographer. And when I looked at those pictures, I was speechless. And I still have them all, and some are very raunchy.
It doesn't matter.
However, yeah, and that's when I discovered myself. And the way he saw me and the way the pictures were, now I no longer think I'm ugly.
Do you see these?
Yeah.
Yeah. As a professional photographer, what you just told me is absolute gold, mountain high. The amount of women that I've had to work with whose self-image was so shitty, And even outside of photography, I've told many of them, please, when's the last time you had a photo shoot? Go do it. Find a photographer that you are comfortable with, and then go beyond your comfort zone. Nobody has to see those photos, but you do.
He became a friend. That particular photographer actually became a real close friend. And yeah, I haven't shown all the pictures to anyone. It's
Don't
just
have to.
Yeah, some of us.
Yeah, but that's the best part is nobody. Yeah, I told a number of, when I had my photography studio, I had, I did family and high school seniors a lot. And I would invite, especially the mothers, I want you to sit in. And of course, the mother's like, oh, God, no, I hate cameras. And I'm like, this picture isn't for you, it's of you. In fact, with that approach, with your attitude towards cameras, you need a quality photo shoot more than anybody. And nobody has to see it. But you need to understand why people love it when you walk in the room, why people smile when you smile at them.
TJ, do you take a lot of unposed pictures so you catch people when they don't think the camera's?
Had to, especially with those that hate having their photos taken. That's where I had to basically be in sniper mode. A lot of the moms I actually brought to tears because I would continually keep watching them out of the corner of my eye. And when I could get away with it, snap a picture of them and put it in the collection. And the family would, she'd be going through and she'd go, when did you take this? I said, when you were showing your real self, why your children love you, why they smile at you. This wasn't for you. If you you can tell your kids, I don't ever want to see this in the house, but I guarantee you they want this one because they probably don't have one that looks like this of you.
This is why I love digital photography, that you can just snap and snap and snap until you get that unguarded moment and see their real self.
Want to see a picture of a lady who absolutely hates the camera? Hated it. But I allowed her to let me take a picture of her. I know there's a lot of glare on there. That's my grandmother. The way I got that smile, I said, do you remember the first time you brought me home to your home? Still gets me. I'm a mush. And I'm okay with that. And she had arthritis so bad that her hands were massively deformed and her fingers were pointed off to the side. And I've got a picture of her hands. And when I told her I wanted a picture of her hands, she was like, no. Why would you want a picture of these? I said, because they don't belong to anybody else but you. Those hands changed my diapers. They fed me. And I know who they belong to. I could spot them out of a group of 1,000 hands. I would know they are yours. Yep, got me all choked up too, so thanks. in the best way. And that brings us 10 minutes past our promised allotted time. Great way to finish. All teary-eyed and full of energies and emotions and stuffy. And if you're watching this recording and you enjoyed it, please click the subscribe button and share this with as many people. You're welcome to post these on your social media. Please leave comments. And I'm looking forward to number 27 in 7 days. Thank you so much for showing up and supporting my dream and allowing me to open my brain up and dump it all out for all of you. I truly appreciate and adore each and every one of you. Thank you.